Today I'm going to be going over my camp kitchen kit. Inside of this tote is going to be what I bring on my camping and overlanding trips. If you're confused over what you want to bring camping for your cooking supplies, look no further. I have ran this multiple times. I've made my modifications and I feel like it's very well dialed in at this point. And as far as size and need constraints, you can go smaller or bigger with your supplies, and just the items that are inside of it should apply regardless of the size of said items. Now, the first thing I keep in my kit is my backup stove. Now, this isn't the main stove that I use. The main stove that I use is my Coleman 2-burner. This stove is what I do most of my cooking on. And then my single burner stove is usually what I loan out to friends that are inside of the group, or if I forget to bring my main stove. Now, as far as eating and plates and dining ware, I just bought a enameled ware set. That is your plates and cups and cutlery, stuff like forks, spoons, knives. Everything inside of this kit is enameled stainless steel with these stainless steel rims. It is important to get these rims because obviously with bumps on the road and whatnot, these things are going to knock together, and it's the rims that chip first as far as this enamel goes. Now, as far as these kits goes, you don't need to bring these kits. I prefer these because I prefer actual size and kind of feel as far as my cookware and eating ware or dining ware. There are plenty of kits that are a lot more downsized than that kit. For example, these kits are a lot more common. The little plastic forks and spoons and knives, if you call them that. And a lot of those will come with plastic plates, but they usually come with these either aluminum or steel or titanium mess kits. And these have collapsible handles, lids, and jars. This one's wet. So that everything is pretty compact and you still have a good handle. I hate these, but I don't do very much backpacking or any car camping where I have small vehicles, so the need to save on space and weight is not that big of a priority for me. Now, as far as cookware goes, as far as I'm concerned, you only need two things. You need a saucepan for your canned foods, Bush's baked beans, in my case, because I love Bush's baked beans. And anything you want to be quick, not necessarily a full meal, not necessarily need to clean the cookware as much as my other piece of cookware, which is my trusty cast iron. Now, the cast iron, I love it to death. If you love cast irons and know how to cook on them, I would absolutely recommend getting a cast iron for camping. I think that much is kind of an obvious for most people who especially already use cast irons. My recommendation, if you don't know how to use, maintain, and essentially just operate a cast iron, is don't do that. It's gonna kill a lot of your drive to cook. And for the most part, if you cook on a nonstick skillet at home, it's gonna operate just the same out in the woods. It might have a little bit less heat retention and It can get a little cold on the edges when it gets really windy, but for the most part, I've never had anything I couldn't cook in a non-stick skillet that I couldn't just, you know, cook in a cast iron. Now, I like cooking in cast irons because I like the heat retention. I like the option to cook in a fire if I want to cook in a fire. But for the majority of people, you're going to be able to bring a propane stove and are probably not wanting to deal with the back strain and the heat, like the temperamental heat that comes with cooking in a campfire. Now, for me personally, I have a lid for my cast iron and a lid for my saucepan. I think in my opinion, especially out camping, that lids are non-negotiable for me because after you get grass in your food the first couple times, you start really looking for lids for everything that you're cooking with. And the big meat and potatoes is going to be my prep kit slash cleaning kit. It started as a prep kit. And for the most part, everything has been very obvious at this point. Most of the gear that is probably less known and probably more important as far as what to bring when camping is probably going to be in this kit specifically. Now, the first thing in this kit is going to be my towels. These are StanSport microfiber. They're pretty small. I use these for all of my cleaning and a lot of my, like, just wiping things down, keeping materials protected if I want to put it on top of a dirty table. These things get thrown around and they get cleaned a lot. And these tend to clean very well. I can put them in the washer and dryer when I get home and I just fold them, put them right back in this bag. And while not as good as like a dish towel or a towel, these are compact and save a lot of space. Second thing for me is a good set of tongs. Now, I can afford to have big tongs because I don't have much of a size constraint when it comes to the gear that I use, but I do recommend just a pair of tongs, even a small piece. Trying to chase meat in a pan is kind of annoying, especially if you're like me and you have a lot of bratwurst and hot dogs and sausage links that you cook. And you want to roll it over once and not chase it around the pan. The second one for me is obviously the spatula, your spatula of choice. I do think a spoon is also important because you are going to have something that you're going to need to stir, and stirring with a spatula is not effective. Now, you could just bring a spatula and bypass the tongs, the spoon, and the spatula and just use a spatula, and you get everything done with reasonable effectiveness. I, however, like to have the right tools, and I of course have the space, so why not? The next one for me is going to be a knife sharpener. Now, I know the rod is kind of probably a big sharpener, a lot more than you need. You can use a little pocket sharpener and that'll work fine. I just like to get a little bit of a better edge. As long as you don't have a dull knife, it doesn't really matter what kind of sharpener it is, as long as it's not dull. Next one for me is soap. When it comes to soap, it doesn't really matter what soap you use. Biodegradable soap is not really a thing. All soap is bad for the environment. The main thing that you need to pay attention to with soap is just don't use it within a certain amount of yardage of waterways, because it will pretty much completely nuke the entire ecosystem there. If you are going to be using soap to clean your dishes, either keep it inside of a bin and then pour it out way away from the water source, or just make sure that you're not next to the water source when you're cleaning in the first place. So the next one for me is going to be spices. I have 6 spices that I bring. Yes, it's only 6. It is Montreal steak seasoning, smoked paprika, thyme, Looks like pepper, sea salt, and garlic. I should also have rosemary. I'll add a 7. I keep forgetting to do that. Now, the next thing is a little bit redundant, but a backup to my backup stove. Again, easy for me to do because I have somewhere to put it. I think for the normal person, I think just going over a checklist a whole bunch of times and just making sure you have your stove is probably effective and absolutely normal. Now, can opener. You don't need a big can opener like this. It's just, again, I have the size, so why not? This is for my bush of baked beans. This is for my clam chowder. This is for my chicken and noodles. I like to be lazy and I like to bring cans, and that's what I open them with. Now, for when I'm not being lazy, I have all of these measuring cups. This is a system that has every single measuring kind of common ordinance that you would need. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cups. I think when you're trying to actually cook and not be lazy and eat canned things all the time, or if you bring your girlfriend and you want to pretend like you weren't eating the canned things in the first place, that's the thing to take, because, you know, having the ability to measure out stuff in your recipes, I think, is important. Granted, some people just eyeball it. If I eyeball things when I'm cooking, I will make slop. So I don't do that. Now, this little thing for me is my bottle opener slash wine opener. I am more of a wine guy, which is half a beer allergy and half trying to impress my girlfriend by being more romantic. So I bring this, and when she's not here, I drink cider, but don't tell her that. A peeler. This is used for potatoes, because if you cook in the mountains and you cook breakfast and you don't have potatoes or any sort of carbs and you just cook meat, I hope you're not hiking for that day, because you're just gonna run out of energy and just peter out. I think potatoes are a lot better than bread. I think potatoes are amazing. If you can't tell, I look like a potato and I love potatoes. You are what you eat. I have this tiny little knife. If you're gonna use a prep knife of any kind, the little knife gets you by. I have a big knife, just a big prep knife. I don't know what the name of this blade type is. I'm not a cook. Please don't flame me. But it's nice to properly prep all your meals, your veggies, your potatoes. Spend effort cooking. It's a lot of fun out in the woods, especially because depending on the group that you're with and how boring they are, sometimes you can just get pretty bored, and cooking just staves off boredom with those groups. Now, this is a chainmail scrubber. This is more for my cast iron specifically, but whatever type of pan that you're bringing or pan set, you're going to want a way to scrub it clean. I've seen people try to use their fingers with just burnt on pancake before, and it doesn't work. Just bring this. This isn't needed, but this is a collapsible sink. I can fill this with water. I can wash all my dishes and keep kind of most of the water inside of it, so I'm wasting a lot less water than just trying to drip water onto the ground. This has a drain at the bottom, so I can drain all the water out. It's a lot easier and a lot more water saving when I'm doing my dishes. It also just makes me want to do dishes in the first place and not just bring paper plates like an animal. So this is my silicone spatula. Don't be alarmed. I use this almost primarily as a cleaning tool. It's really hard sometimes to get all the gunk out of the pans, especially when it's beans. I eat a lot of beans. And this is just really, really good at getting the non-stick sides of the pans really clean. And when it comes to just wiping it all out, it works great. So the pair of scissors is for opening packages. I do use this a lot for chopping veggies. If they're small enough to fit in the scissors, I usually tend to pull out the scissors rather than pulling out a knife, just because it's quick, it's easy. I don't normally, like, I don't have to bring out my cutting board, which, surprise, surprise, that's my final item. It's going to be a cutting board. This cutting board is just like a basic bamboo cutting board, but you know, having one that fits inside of your prep container is very nice. Back to the scissors. I use the scissors because I don't need a cutting board to cut like veggies and stuff. So if I'm making like a pot of stew and I have like some stew meat that's like kind of just simmering in my pot, I can just take like a carrot and just chop the carrot directly into the pot. When it comes to my cookware, I like this system a lot, but feel free to change how you're doing your system. This is mostly a guide for what kind of items to bring and not necessarily what specifically to bring in your camping trips. For your camping trip, obviously, there's going to be a lot of car campers watching this. There's going to be a lot of backpackers that might be watching this. So scale down all of these items for whatever your space allows and just try to get the items that are here or the item types just into whatever container that you have the space allowed for. Now, if you like content like this, please give me a like and possibly even a subscribe. I'm just kind of starting out, so I'm sure I made a lot of mistakes. And if you've made it this far through the video, please do me a favor and comment on whatever you saw that I might have been doing wrong. I do like to consider myself somebody that is able to take constructive criticism, and I would love to just kind of know what I could be doing better. And without further ado, I hope you guys have a great day, night, morning, and stay wild.